Hello everyone and welcome back to Football Manager 2021 and another part of this experiment where we're seeing what would happen if nearly 7,000 players were made unemployed at the start of a new game. And since we started this experiment, we've gone about 5 years, I think it is, into the future, and we've seen where all the biggest players have gone. You can see Real Madrid been dominating La Liga. They do have the best team. They have Kylian Mbappe, De Bruyne, De Vrij. They also had Cristiano Ronaldo return to the club. So they've got all the best players in the world, really, and they've been dominating world football ever since, in the Champions League as well. You can see Real Madrid have been turning it on there. Manchester City winning one as well. Zenit St. Petersburg were the big shock in the first year, winning the very first Champions League since the big reset, but largely things have returned to normal. And today, what we're going to look at is what are the long-term implications of something like this? What do the big teams look like? Is there any major change over that period of time in terms of the league makeup, where clubs are, and just generally where the best players have ended up and how their careers have gone? So this is a bit of a wrap-up episode of this experiment, but we're going to jump forward a good amount of time in the future and then work our way through those top 5 leagues and the Champions League to see what's happened. If you have enjoyed this experiment up to this point, please do drop a like down below and make sure to subscribe to the channel as well if you're new. But let's jump ahead now a good amount into the future and see where we are. Well, we've gone about 15 years into the future now to see where things are. And when we left off in the Premier League, you can see Chelsea had just won the title. They'd actually been on a little winning run since Manchester City had won it, beating Manchester United to the top, Everton making it into the top 4, West Ham and Watford doing very well as well. The following season, Chelsea again retained the title, and the top 6 are the traditional top 6, so things turning around pretty quickly. Watford trying to hang in there in the European places. The following season, Arsenal dropped down, Chelsea win the title, but the top 6 are back in charge. Liverpool coming and getting a title, Leicester getting relegated that season, City getting the title, Watford trying to get in that top 4, but it's not happening as Liverpool win it, then City. And you can see again Watford just missing out on the top 4 there, 7 points in it. While other teams keep bouncing in and out of that top 4, Watford just cannot break the hump. Leeds finishing in 7th. Stoke even appearing up there now, Southampton not far away, but the top 4 hasn't changed until this. Well, no, that's because we're one game into this season at the moment. But nothing changing there. The top 4, the winners of the Premier League, have been so consistent. Chelsea taking it pretty much every year for a really long period of time. That was 7 in a row that they won, with United finishing in 2nd place 6 years in a row. United, other than that title there and the latest one, having a long record of not winning it despite always finishing up and about the places. But you can see that really it's not changed anything in the Premier League, this big reset. Manchester United's team, we won't recognise too many of the players at this point, but you can see that they've got quite a lot of value in the club, pretty consistent amount. Chelsea as well, who've obviously dominated for a long time, got Zinedine Zidane in charge. He's probably been in charge for some time as well, with all these trophies that they've racked up. But you can see here by their kind of listed from top to bottom, most expensive, Ronan Stokes top, the Irishman. A few players over 70 million there. They've stacked them up actually. And the new Messiahs is at the club. The new Messiah for Chelsea, doing a very good job for them after leaving Bayern Munich. But not a lot of change here. The big surprise package has been probably Watford. I would suggest he's been a top 10 team every season since the reset, and they've got a decent squad. It's good. You'd sort of equate that to maybe where Spurs are at the moment, or maybe Arsenal actually. And Stoke as well, also managing to bounce up there. They've done well, exploiting the gaps where they've had them, and setting a 5th place record finish. But otherwise, Arsenal around the middle, Spurs in and out the top 4. There's not a lot of surprises. Some teams were relegated though, and I'm interested to see. Wolves were one of them. I think Fulham were the other, who were relegated out of the Premier League and didn't quite come back. I can't see Fulham there either. I might have to do a little search for Fulham, because I'm not sure where they are unless I've missed them. Oh no, they are back in the Premier League, so even for them, look, being the yo-yo club, in and out like a Christmas tree. But even they've managed to bounce back at this point, so it really doesn't matter what's going on in the Premier League. it's just the same as it always was. Now, if we go and have a look at La Liga up next, then you can see when we go to the stages here and drop back to where we left off, that it had been dominated by Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid to begin with. Barcelona had an initial dip, but then they came back. And the top three here, there's really no point spending any time on La Liga, because it's been the top three every single season. One season there, Sevilla managed to sneak into third place as Real Madrid finished fifth. But it's been Barcelona ever since, really. Atletico Madrid getting a couple lately, but I mean, this is becoming what Portugal has been like for an extremely long time, with just three teams in the race season after season and nobody else able to get a sniff in. So really disappointing that wasn't broken at any point. Only the first season that when Valencia got in, and then here with Sevilla. Otherwise, it's been the same three teams season after season. Atletico Madrid, decent squad together. It's good that at least Atletico Madrid are still going in La Liga. They've got a decent squad. They do still have Diego Simeone in charge, which is surprising given how far forward in the game we are. Barcelona have come back to break Real Madrid's stranglehold on La Liga. They've got Sergio Conceição in charge, and when you look at their team, it's traditionally strong. Not as strong as you would expect, though. That's not quite up there with some of the Premier League teams we've seen. And Real Madrid actually haven't won a title since we left off last time, so they've really dropped down as a club. They do have a player worth 102 million, but the rest of the team's not quite up to scratch, and it is costing them as they try to win the big trophies. Down in Serie, just take a quick look through these league seasons as well. When we left off, the top of the table had returned to usual, but Juventus finishing a little bit further down. Milan, though, did win a few titles. Atalanta, who were maybe the surprise team, were winning a few. Juventus just charging back at the title a little bit, and then finally they do win it, and then the dominance trying to set in, but it looks like Inter have actually stormed back, and Inter Milan winning the last few titles. They've definitely been the most dominant team, but at least this has been a competitive league. The top three really changing all the time, but Inter Milan now on a period of dominance, and when you look at this senior squad, again, it's not that great. You know, the Italian league not quite as competitive as the Premier League and La Liga in terms of its dominance. Quite a few teams around the same level, but not the ones that I'm expecting to see pop up as Champions League winners. Whereas in the Bundesliga, I'm not even going to bother showing you the table. There's absolutely no point. It's been all Bayern Munich with an occasional RB Leipzig victory. The teams finishing second and third are a little bit more varied, but nobody able to keep pace with Bayern Munich. They've got Daniel Fark in charge of the club now, which is a quite a nice rise for him, really. But you can see the club pretty good. I mean, that's strength in depth for Bayern Munich. They've put together a really strong squad. Leipzig have occasionally broken that dominance, but they're on a downward spiral at the moment, and it doesn't look like they're going to be coming back. They've got Harry Kane in charge of the club, which is nice to see. I don't know if I'd expect Harry Kane to be managing in Germany in the future, but apparently he may. And then finally, if we look at again the French league, where PSG had come back and dominated for a long time. Monaco did manage to win one additional title after Rennes was so good to begin with. Rennes still occasionally getting second and third place finishes, but lately it's been the return of Lyon, who've done well bouncing back over time and have lately set up a bit of dominance over the French league, beating PSG to the title. I want to have a quick look actually at the stages of the last few seasons and see how close it's been. So you can see PSG were keeping Lyon at bay for 2 seasons in a row, but then Lyon took it by 2 goals at the end of the season, 6 points a year after, and 1 point in the most recent season. So it's pretty tight at the top of Liga. PSG, having not won for a while, they still have Thomas Tuchel in charge. I suppose there's no reason to sack him if he's winning titles, but he hasn't won one for 3 years. They've still got, well, I mean, that's a pretty poor squad. You can see why they're not winning the league. Look at that. They've barely got any players above 30 million. 6 players above 30 million is not enough. And that's going to have a significant impact. If we go and have a look at the Champions League next and have a look at the past winners here, I don't think we need to go through the quarterfinal stages, etc. But you can see when we left off, Real Madrid have been dominating. Obviously, they've fallen back in La Liga. And Chelsea, who've been dominant in England, doing well. Atletico Madrid doing well. Barcelona, United and City No massive surprises. Juventus did well to make a final. Borussia Dortmund certainly did well to make a final against Liverpool. But the winners have been pretty consistent. Atletico Madrid winning 5 times since the reset is a very good return for them. And a few English clubs popping up there. The English teams now, they have dominated the coefficients, which mean they're the highest rated team. And that seems to be showing through. They've definitely got the best strength. And even in the Europa League, you can see the big teams winning this competition. They must be occasionally falling into it, and they are taking it seriously, winning a lot of games, or a lot of competitions. There are no real surprise packages in here. Eintracht Frankfurt, who people point out I didn't necessarily give due attention to before, did manage to win one Europa League. A few beaten finalists are nice to see in there, but generally the big teams are just picking up all of the silverware. And that's really kind of sad to see. You'd expect a reset like this to have some significant impact on world football, but it just doesn't seem to have been the case. Now, one final place we can check is, of course, the Club World Championship, if it will let me click the right one. Because here, you may see some of the other teams starting to win it, and you can see it's not held as frequently as it once was, but Bayern Munich won the first one. Real Madrid, Chelsea, City, United and Spurs. It's not changed very much. River Plate did make the 2022 one, and we're not going to see many familiar players these days. But if we look at the most valuable players in the world and where they're located, they're all at the same clubs we've been seeing this whole time. So this experiment has just gone to show that you can't shake up world football as much as you might want to, or might expect to even. Because the big teams with the money are going to attract the player with attract the best player with the biggest wages, and that's just the reality of football these days. Because even Stoke, Almeria here have got one player at 64 million, but these are all the teams that have been up at the top 6 of every league, or even higher. Reading have got Rudy Warmington there at 59 million. But yeah, it's a little bit sad, really. A sad way to end this experiment, which just shows how much money now dominates the game. But there is a question to be asked of what if there was a transfer embargo on all of these teams. So I'm definitely interested in doing that transfer embargo experiment in the near future. But before that, I've got another experiment coming out tomorrow. So if you guys are enjoying the experiments, please do drop a like down below and make sure you're subscribed to the channel for when that drops at 6 o'clock tomorrow. And let me know down in the comments if you've got ideas for experiments as well. I'm going to try and do more experiments this year than I've ever done in Football Manager. So do let me know what ideas you've got down in the comments. But until next time, see ya.